Hello everybody, my name is Leela from Miss Kiss Creations. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a hydro dip, as you can tell. Before I get started, I wanted to let you know thank you so much for all my views, likes, comments, shares on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. It means so much. I just want to remind y'all, once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I will be doing a 5 free tumbler giveaway. So when I reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I will be giving away 5 free tumblers to the 1,000 subscribers. So please go ahead and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to get entered in the giveaway. So let's go ahead and get started with this. We are doing, like I said, a hydro dip, and all of the materials are right here. So this is one of the easiest techniques of the tumbler world, in my opinion. It is so simple, it's so fun, you cannot mess up with it. It's awesome. So I'm gonna go over the materials and then we'll go ahead and have some fun. You're gonna need a tumbler, any size. I'm working with a 30 ounce. Let me wipe up the bottom because I did have it on the dirt. I am working with a 30 ounce here, and you are gonna need your handle or your football on your cup turner, and you're gonna need to put it inside of the tumbler like so. And you're gonna need, obviously, spray paint. Today I'm working with black Rust-Oleum, wine satin Rust-Oleum, and I think I have gold. Yes, gold Rust-Oleum. So does not matter. This is ultra matte. This one's satin and the other one's metallic. It does not matter if you use gloss, if you use matte. I just did one. This one was gloss. It doesn't matter which type of finish the spray paint is. And then you're gonna need a 5-gallon bucket with water. So I have the water filled up about a little over a half, almost 3/4 of the bucket. And obviously, whenever you're working with a bigger tumbler, you want more water. If I was working with a wine koozie or a 16 ounce or a 10 ounce, I don't need this much water. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Oh, over here, this is just a drying rack for me. When I'm done, I just place it in here. It's just easier for me than to carry it around and let the water drip everywhere. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. Oh, and you're gonna need some napkins. Sorry, guys. I do have napkins on the other side of the camera. So I'm gonna spray. So all you're gonna do is you're just gonna spray the bucket with the spray paint. I've never used metallic, so this is the first time using metallic spray paint on these. I don't know if it's gonna show through or not, but we're gonna see. So even if it does get messed up, this is still the process. Just know at the end, you cannot use metallic spray paint. We'll all learn together. And if you notice, I'm spraying not in the same spot for each color. I'm trying to make it mix. Now some people they use a toothpick or a popsicle stick to move around the colors. When I try to do that, the colors get really sticky and it kind of like wraps around the stick. So I just skip that part and it comes out beautiful either way. So it's never been a problem with me. All right, so if you see, I have it all different colors. This is when you take your tumbler, and if you notice, I don't tape any of mine off or anything. I don't put a trash bag on mine or anything, a grocery bag. I just stick it in here and I'll show you how to remove the excess when I'm finished. And then we are just going to be careful, because if your tumbler isn't tightly on your football, it will fall into the water. We're just gonna place it into the 5-gallon bucket and we're gonna turn. We're gonna spin it, make sure you get it in there, get it all the way in there, and then we're gonna lift it up. Look at that, y'all. Look how gorgeous that turned out. I don't know if y'all can see this. Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. So if you see the gold didn't really show up, which it's okay. It's just something I'll know from next time, but oh, we got some gold in here. So I always like to drip it off into the bucket, and you see this is still very wet. Sometimes, depending on how much of a hurry I'm in, I'll take my hair dryer and I'll hit this with a hair dryer. This is so gorgeous. Look, it looks like flames, guys. Let me get it this way. Look how that turned out. So I'm gonna place this into my homemade drying rack right there. That's actually flowers that my boyfriend got me, and that was the vase the flowers came in, but it's perfect for a drying rack. So I'm gonna place it there, and like I said, if I needed that to be dried and I needed to place epoxy on that, I would go ahead and hit that with a hair dryer immediately, but I like to keep them air drying because I'm not gonna apply epoxy to that for probably another 6 hours or so. I won't do it until the morning or later tonight, so I don't need that to be dried anytime soon. So if you see there's still excess spray paint inside of the bucket, we are going to just take a paper towel or a rag, or sometimes I even just take my gloved hand and just get it all out of there. And then the excess, it sticks right to your gloved hand or your paper towel. And then actually, if you wanted to do too, this is pretty much clean, so you don't have to waste any water. You don't have to add more water in here. You just clean this up and you just spray more spray paint with your next colors. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the camera, and then once this dries, I'll show you how to remove the excess paint out of the inside of the tumbler. If you see, I put the tumbler all the way inside of the water because I wanted the design to really wrap around the cup. So there's some excess paint inside the inside, and once this dries, I will be back. Hey guys, so I am inside my house now, and it's been about 5 minutes. Say hi to my dog. It's been about 5 minutes since I hydro dipped this. I placed this in the water. So I wanted to actually do step by step with you, so I don't want to skip this step. So you know how I said in the previous clip, I would spray this with a hairdryer. So you don't want to spray this with a heat gun because heat will actually melt the spray paint. So I have my hair dryer, nothing fancy, Revlon. I think I got it from Walmart like for 20 or 10 bucks, probably like 15 years ago, honestly. It's been such a long time. So I just took this one, the one that I use on a daily basis for my hair. And you have to have one with the cool button. So, which isn't hard to find. Like I said, this is a very basic hair dryer. So whenever I blow dry this tumbler, I'm always pushing the cool button on. I don't want this to be hot because whenever I used to blow dry this and I noticed it got hot, it would kind of melt the spray paint like like the heat gun would. So whenever you turn this on, I turn it on high. I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to hear what I say. So I turn on high, and I always click the cool down button or the cold button, or mine's a little snowflake. And then you'll see water drops kind of rolling down. And if you can look very closely, you see how there's little like bubbles. What I do, I don't know if it's the right way. If there is a different technique that somebody else can share with me, please comment. I just take my finger and I just pop those little bubbles. And it doesn't look bad, so I haven't tried anything differently. But sometimes you'll get, if you saw on the camera, a little water coming back at you when you pop them, because it's actually water bubbles. You do not want those water bubbles on your tumbler while you're epoxying, because it's not going to go on the tumbler. The epoxy won't go on the tumbler. Water and epoxy does not mix well. So I just go around the tumbler and I'm just popping these bubbles. And if anybody knows how to avoid getting these bubbles, like I said, please comment, because I like to teach people how to do this, but I can never have enough lessons taught for myself, I guess, if that's how you say it. I'm always open, just splattered on me. I'm always open to learning more things, especially in the tumbler world. There's so many things changing. There's so many new techniques people are discovering, and there's so many new tips. There's so many tips out there that I still don't know. I try to teach all of y'all, but I still don't know half of the tips that can be taught to me. So if you do have a different way to pop these bubbles or avoid these bubbles, please let me know. So look at this tumbler, guys. This is gorgeous. This is going to probably dry. I'm probably gonna give this about an hour to dry. So I'm gonna let this sit for an hour, and like I said in the other clip in the beginning of the video, if you see there's still stuff inside of here, do not freak out about the spray paint that gets inside of the cup. I will show you how to remove that at the end of the video. So I'm gonna let this sit here and dry, and I will be back with y'all. All right, y'all, this has been spinning for about an hour. It is completely dry. So I let all of the water dry before the next step. Remember, epoxy and water, they are not friends. They do not mix well, so please make sure this tumbler is completely dry. And I wish the camera would get how beautiful this tumbler turned out. I thought I didn't get any gold in here, but it looks like I did get a lot of gold right here. So it is so beautiful. So what I went ahead and did off the camera is I mixed my epoxy. I mixed part A and part B. I mixed 10 milliliters of part A and 10 milliliters of part B, making 20 milliliters. Now I'm just going to epoxy this and probably leave it like this with no decal, but if I did want a decal, I would still personally epoxy it. Then add the decal and then epoxy it again. The only reason for that is because if I apply a decal right here, for instance, on the spray paint, and I don't like the decal, when I go peel it up, it will peel up the spray paint. Or sometimes if you have a strong transfer tape and you place the decal on, when you go to peel up the transfer tape, it might peel the spray paint off as well. So do keep that in mind if you are adding a decal. You always want to add a decal, preferably on a smooth epoxied surface. And make sure the epoxy has sat for at least 20 to 24 hours before applying the decal. Because sometimes if you apply decal, you don't like it and you rip it up, the epoxy might just come right up with the decal or transfer tape. So like I said, I mixed a total of 20 milliliters of epoxy together for this 30-ounce tumbler. So I mixed part A 10 milliliters and part B another 10 milliliters. And the way that actually it all depends on the cup, but the way that I apply my epoxy is always with a gloved finger, and I always like stick my finger in the cup, and then I get some on my finger, and then I place on the tumbler. Sometimes if it's glitter, then I will pour like so, and then I will spread the glitter around, or the epoxy around. I'm not a big fan of pouring, only because I pour too much. I have a heavy hand and the epoxy tends to fall off the tumbler, and then I'm having to scrape it off of my mat and place it back into the cup or on the tumbler. So I find I have more control whenever I dip my finger inside of the Dixie cup. And that way, if you can tell, I make hardly little or no drips. And this all comes in time. When I first started, I would have so much epoxy left on the mat. So this is all practice. And if it doesn't work for you, sticking your finger inside of the epoxy, you can try the pour method. You can try the silicone makeup sponge or brush, which is like this, and you spread it on that way. It is entirely up to you, whichever way you feel comfortable. And whenever I'm finished, whenever I feel like I have a heavy coat or a desired coat on the tumbler, I start moving my finger up and down instead of left and right on the tumbler. So that way I get a nice, clean, finished, even coat of epoxy on the tumbler. And make sure you get the rim. Don't be scared to get the rim. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how I handled the rim and the inside of the tumbler, because I did not go over how I removed the spray paint yet. So don't worry, we're still going to get to that. I just do that at the very last step, just in case. Well, y'all will see here soon whenever this dries. So this looks like it is fully covered. And if you can see, it really made that gold pop. I hope the camera is getting this. All right, looks like it's fully covered, and out of habit, I just hit this with a heat gun. The heat gun that I'm using today, I purchased from Lowe's. It's a Wagner, and it was about $20. It is not a craft heat gun. Sorry, it's upside down. It is not a craft heat gun. I'm trying to get it in the camera. It is a, I don't know what type of heat gun, but it's not a craft one. Again, I got it from Lowe's. It was about $20. I'm just going to hit this with a heat gun about 5 to 6 inches away on high. Bring the camera up more so you can see how far away I am. So whenever you're using a heat gun on a tumbler, I don't use a torch. Some people use a torch. I use a heat gun. Whenever you are using a heat gun, you can either put the heat left and right, like so, or you can have the heat go up and down. I don't think it matters which way you do, but I do know that I like to stay consistent. So if you place the heat up and down, make sure you stay consistent and you're always moving very, very quickly. So swift, quick movements left and right, or if you want to do the heat this way, I guess this is technically left and right, left to right. Make sure you do very swift movements as well, and make sure you stay consistent. So don't do half of it up and down the tumbler and then half of it this way. I think it really does make a difference. I've always done one movement and my finishes are like glass. So, and always, always, always do not forget the bottom of the tumbler. I'm gonna let this spin for about maybe 6 hours. I didn't put a heavy coat on there, so it's probably gonna be 6 hours. I'm gonna time it, and then if it's not 6 hours, I'll let y'all know. And then we'll go over how to remove the inside of the spray paint. I'll see y'all soon. Alright guys, so this tumbler has been drying and curing for about 12 to 15 hours. And if you can see, it is completely cured all the way around. Now I'm coming back with you to show you how I remove the inside. There's some epoxy in here. I don't know if the camera can get this, but there's some epoxy inside of the rim or inside of the cup, and then there's the excess spray paint. So to remove the epoxy, all you're gonna need is a X-Acto knife. Like I said, I'm trying to get this on camera. So how I do this, and this is not just for the Hydro Dip tumblers, this is for all of my tumblers. I do this every single time. So if you see, I just take my X-Acto knife and I just cut around the edge of the tumbler. You want to be very careful with this, that you stay inside and you don't cut on the outside, because sometimes your hand or my hand will want to kind of slip away down like that, and sometimes I go too quickly and I cut the tumbler and I make a cut inside the tumbler. That's an easy fix if that does happen. Just go ahead and sand that part down and then re-epoxy the tumbler with a very thin coat of epoxy. So if y'all can see here, trying to get this on the camera without messing it up, you just cut all around the tumbler and then all the epoxy will come up. And then I always do the top of the rim as well. So I take my X-Acto knife and I press towards the center of the tumbler. I don't press down here, because if I press down here, there's a chance I can slide down on the tumbler and cut the tumbler and have to waste another step in materials. Like I said, it does happen sometimes. Sometimes you accidentally do it and it doesn't cut it, but it just depends on how much pressure you're putting down. So I scrape all of the epoxy. I just put it inside my tumbler for now because I'm gonna end up washing this out at the end. And I dump it into the trash can. And I just make sure I get all of the excess epoxy off of the tumbler. Now I don't care for I'm not caring if there's spray paint left over on this step. This is only to get the epoxy off. So sometimes it's hard to see, so I just take my finger, and I just kind of rub it around to make sure it's off. And y'all see I kind of went down on that. Thankfully, I didn't cut the tumbler, but sometimes I have a lot of pressure and I really cut it. I have a heavy hand with things. So that's how I get the rim to be clean on every single one of my tumblers. This is great for glitter. Every tumbler that I do, that is one of my last steps on every single tumbler. And then to get the excess spray paint from the inside, I'm going to take, I have it in a nail polish remover bottle, but it's 100% acetone. You can get it from the paint stripper section or the glove spray paint section from Walmart. It's just 100% acetone. And all you do is you place that on a rag or a paper towel, and you just wipe around the edges, and it comes right off. Or you wipe on the inside, anywhere where you want the spray paint to come off. And I do this after at the very end, only because if I do this before I epoxy and I accidentally get some on my gloved hand or my hands or anything, I might put that on the tumbler and it might take off the spray paint on the tumbler. So right now I probably have some on my glove. Me touching the tumbler isn't going to affect the design at all. So that's why it's very important that I do this after the tumbler. And sometimes, depending on how much spray paint you use or how long the spray paint has been sitting on the tumbler or inside the tumbler, that's how many times you have to soak the paper towel and wipe away. And then the stuff that does not come off, like, I don't think y'all can see that, but there's some on the rim. That means there's epoxy right there. That means that's underneath the epoxy. It's not going to come off if there's epoxy. So this is just repeating the process until it comes clean. There's some on the inside there. So this just repeats the process, or you just repeat the process over and over again. And like I said, this isn't just for my Hydro Dip tumblers, because I spray paint every single tumbler I do for the most part. I spray paint every single tumbler I do, and like I said, I have a heavy hand and I am very messy when it comes to this, and I usually get spray paint everywhere. So this is a step that I do for every single tumbler. And once it's dry, or once it's completely wiped off, then what I do is I just take the inside, I dump it in the garbage can, and then I take every single tumbler to the sink, to my kitchen sink, and I clean it out with Dawn dish soap, and I wipe it down with a rag, and then I dry it. That's how you hydro dip from start to finish. If you did like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Again, once I reach 1,000 subscribers, 5 lucky subscribers will be getting a free tumbler. Thanks again, and I'll see y'all next time.